In this lesson, I'm going to show you an idea to make adorable pumpkin beads with a faux ceramic look. And I'm going to show you an idea using chalk pastels, but I'm going to show you what to do if you don't have chalk pastels, and I'm going to show you an easy way to color the beads using something you might already have around the house. Hi, I'm Mihaela from Learn Polymer Clay, and let's dive in. So I've prepared some white polymer clay, and first I just rolled some white clay in between my hands, and I've made a round bead, and then I've pressed the upper part and the bottom of the bead, and I've started to form the shape of the pumpkin, and then using a toothpick I started to make indentations, and I'm going for an organic look. So I want to have an organic look for this bead because we are inspired by pumpkins and they are not perfect in nature. Next, I put some white polymer clay on the pasta machine through the setting number 4, and then I just shaved some chalk pastels, and I prepared a light an orange green, yellow, and orange chalk pastels. And I'm using an applicator, and I'm applying the pastels on top of the sheet of polymer clay. You could use your fingers if you want. And you'll notice that I'm tapping in different areas on top of the pastels because I don't want to have the same shade of orange on the entire piece. And of course, you could use the pastels as they are, the blocks of pastels, and color the piece. And then I just used the pastels, the blocks, and colored areas of the piece. You will just have to blow on top of the sheet of polymer clay to remove the excess pastels. And then I'm going to use the etching pearl tools, and in fact you have 3 sizes. And I'm going to cut tiny pearls decorated with pastels. And you have 2 ways to go about this. You can use the etching tool, press it into the polymer clay, rotate it left and right, and pick the pearl, and then go on top of the polymer clay where you want to apply this tiny pearl, and press it lightly into the clay and rotate it left and right. And sometimes if I don't manage to capture the clay inside the etching tool, I might just cut them with the etching tool and use my tools to take them and press them into the clay. And after decorating the entire piece with these small embossed elements, you will just have to use parchment paper and gently press them into the clay. You must to make sure that they are well connected. You don't want them to just sit on top of the clay. You want them well connected to the piece, to the bead. You will also notice that the dots are not the same color because I'm taking out the pearls. I'm cutting the pearls from different area with different colors. For the second bead, I'm going to show you how to color beautiful pumpkin beads with a faux ceramic look using curcuma, turmeric. And I'm also going to show you how to use this step that you can make for yourself. And this is the lesson where you can learn to make this ammonite inspired stamp for yourself. So here's the link to the lesson. And I just used the stamp to make a beautiful impression on top of the clay. And then I put the bead on top of the stamp, and using a flexible silicone texture plate, I decorated the sides of the bead, and in the same time I pressed the bead on top of the stamp, and thus you'll notice that both the upper part, the bottom, are decorated with the ammonite stamp, while the area around the piece is decorated with a floral texture plate. And then I just put some curcuma, turmeric, on top of a piece of paper, and I'm using this to color the bead. And I might leave some white areas, and then I've used a little bit of cinnamon to add more depth to the bead by creating more contrast. And you'll have to use the toothpick and enlarge the hole. Make sure that you have pretty holes. And this is a quite organic looking bead, and I like it. And then you can play with this idea of an organic look and use baby wipes and remove the turmeric and the cinnamon from certain areas to have a more interesting, um, like an ancient artifact look for the bead. Keep baby wipes near, you'll need them to clean your hands. And for the third bead, I've conditioned more polymer clay. And again, I'm using turmeric. And this time I'm coloring the clay. I'm going to mix this into the clay. And I'm continuing to mix this into the clay until I like the look, the marbled look of the bead. And I'm going to use the same stamp again. And I'm stamping all around the bead, and I stamped the bottom, the upper part, and then all around the bead, turning it into a cube bead. And then I put the bead on top of a skewer, and I continued to press on the four sides to make a cube bead. And this is an interpretation, an artistic interpretation of the pumpkin bead idea. But I really like the faux ancient artifact look of this bead. And then when you're happy with the look of the pieces, you can bake them for 45 minutes in the preheated oven. I bake my pieces on parchment paper. And if you liked this lesson on sculpting pumping beads, here's what to watch next.